We are live.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Dream.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our mission.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it? Whether we're young or old.
Here comes the candles will light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Read Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
This week, we've got some exciting stuff going on, or not, depending on what you're looking for.
Never.
Depending on what you're hoping for. If you want to be wildly entertained by rangy intellectual discussions, then this is not your show. But here we are, every year, or every week.
Once a year, we come together to do a podcast.
A yearly podcast. Time to dust off the old equipment and record yet again. So it was fucking cold for a couple days this week.
Good old polar vortex.
Yeah. Yep. And it was, I think the lowest it got here with the wind chill was minus 36.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. I think you guys were colder.
Yeah, it was negative 40 here.
Yeah. Not that we could tell it.
But I don't know. That's what my phone said. It seemed to be wildly different between what my phone said and what the temperature gauge on my car said. And I feel like my car would know better.
Well, a car is not accounting for wind chill. It's just doing ambient air temperature.
Yeah.
Wind
Well, I don't think my phone does wind chill either, but.
Oh, it doesn't? Oh, okay.
Well, I'm not sure where it's pulling from, but usually it doesn't do wind chill. It's just pure temperature.
Oh.
But the weird thing about negative temperatures is that, like, at some point it's kind of meaningless once you get in the negative temperatures, because the difference between -2 and -40 is not a whole lot, but it seems like a ton.
Yeah. It just was oppressively cold. Of course, we had to go to,
But yeah, it was dangerously cold.
Yeah. No one called, we didn't get called off work any this week. So, and what happened the first day? The first day they could barely keep the heating system running. And then the second day, the governor issued an emergency order that everyone turn their air heaters down to 65 because one of our main natural gas trunk lines exploded. So they were in danger of losing the whole system if demand kept going. We actually got emergency notice on our phone. Now that didn't affect us because we're with a different company out here, but it was where I work. They had to shut everything way back, and I was just driving around like people were working in winter coats and stuff. It was just miserable. So of course everyone slowed way down because they're like, I'm not. There's no provision on this job for me to be wearing a giant winter coat. And so all the guys working on the line, it got slow. And of course, what did they do? Like, well, guys, do your best. I know it's miserable. No, they came out and fucking got mad at people. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, you guys, this isn't going to last a whole lot longer. I hope everyone enjoys it, because when you piss people off like that, there's one line they actually ask a guy that's like, oh, if you're so cold, why don't you put your coat on? And he was like, if I put my fucking coat on, it's to go home. So yeah, they did a great job. That's why no one came in on, virtually no one showed up on the afternoon shift, because everyone got informed. It's like, hey, when you come in here, it's freezing cold. They can't keep the heat running. It's miserable. It sucks. So, but yeah, so they just, no one came in. Good for them. I should have not come in the second day. It's pretty ridiculous when you're driving around inside and you can see your breath, and you got a winter coat and gloves on driving a forklift around. So a nickel might roll out the front door or something. Can't lose a dime.
Oh, I work in a freezer, so it makes no difference to me. Although it was colder outside than it was in my freezer.
Yeah. Surprised they didn't just shut the freezer off and kick the back door.
Yeah.
Save some money.
Yeah, I think we had a weirdly we had the hot pipe for the upstairs for the kitchen sink froze.
Oh yeah.
But just that line, like the cold one was fine, which doesn't make any sense.
That's weird.
Well, the only thing I think is the one thing I know about thermodynamics is that cold always goes to, or heat always goes to the, well, no, that doesn't make sense either. Heat always goes to the coldest source. So, so yeah, it doesn't make sense why it froze. But anyways, I had a heat.
All I know is the universe ends in heat death.
But that's why the sun radiates outward, because the crust is cooler than the inside of it, so it radiates outwards.
Oh, okay.
And that's how the sun works. Well, that and, fission and nuclear explosions and shit. But yeah, I had a heat gun, so just hit the old pipe with the heat gun, and we're good.
Yeah, nothing like 1400 degrees to snap things right.
And people are driving like fucking stupid. That was fun. Well, I think I just witnessed a crime, but I couldn't but I could not. I had to go to work. I could not follow up on it.
Oh, what happened?
So it wasn't necessarily slick out, but the snow was crunchy, and it was you could see it sparkle. So it was obviously like, okay, it's slippery. So I was driving the fucking speed limit.
Right.
But this is my road to work, so this is the one where people want to go like treat it like it's a highway.
Okay.
So, in adverse weather conditions, still want to treat it like it's fucking highway, and only one lane is plowed. The other lane is still has covered in snow. I mean, you could still drive on it. It wasn't like 10 feet of snow or anything, but it was covered in snow.
Yeah.
A guy passes me, speeds up doing like 50 in the snow lane.
Of course.
Get up to about where the bridge is, where it goes over the train tracks. Spins out. The back end of the car hits the bridge, but because it has kind of a snowbank built up, it's like no problem, like nothing happened. So like I slowed down to a stop, and so did the other lane too, so this guy could turn around. So it keeps going. I'm behind him. I was like, well, this asshole seems dangerous, so I'm gonna keep swerving. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And then I realized, like, oh, him and the passenger are like trading blows.
Oh, you just thought it was a drunk.
Yeah. No, this is probably just spousal abuse.
Yeah.
Just going on. We get to the next light. Dude flips a Yui and then goes around the other way. I was like, well, if it wasn't adverse weather conditions, I would be calling the cops. But because I need to, keep my wits about me and, not be on the fucking phone.
Yeah.
They probably went and murdered each other or something. So
Yeah, or killed someone else.
yeah.
Corpse. Smoked a bunch of meth. Yeah, I love that shit.
And then I went to, so I mean, that's pretty much the main point of the story, but like, it was additionally stupid is like when I went to and came back from lunch, like pretty much the same thing happens, but without the spousal abuse. Like someone does 50 in the snow lane. Just
Flies out of control.
no, but they're wiggling around there.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, people are fucking stupid.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of fucking morons everywhere.
There's a lower income housing place near the interstate around here, and usually when some asshole passes me, or something happens, like, and I'm on my way home, and they go, go have their fun with their car, and like then they because we're like it's on my way home that place, and then like, oh, they pull into there. It's like, oh, I guess that's the problem.
Yeah.
Just people with no lives and money making everyone else suffer
Yeah.
for their entertainment.
I'm gonna drive dangerously. Yeah, I see that. I don't know. I mean, that's where I work is near Detroit, so I'm assuming a giant low-income housing project at this point. But
I don't want to like denigrate like a whole like, you know, oh, you don't have money, like you're just, but it's like, you know, some people are in bad times and some people deserve the shitty life they have, and then hoist it upon others.
it's it's what I call patterns. It's like, yeah, I don't want to paint everyone with the same brush, but when I see the same patterns for 25 years, kind of makes it hard for me to be like, well, maybe this is the one guy that's not a complete. Oh, no, I was wrong.
Well, see, I have to be careful because I work at Walmart and stereotypes shop at Walmart. And so if any bad idea I want to have, I can confirm it any day of the week.
Yeah. You just have to go. It's like, Mel, maybe it isn't like this, and then go take a walk down the aisle and like, oh yeah, it is. It's
So like I have to be like no, that's not, this isn't representative of the population I am witnessing or whatever.
yeah. Whatever you got to do to sleep through the night, I guess. All gonna be fine. No, my favorite are I've expressed this before during driving conditions. Anytime 94 is always adverse driving conditions, whether it's weather conditions or people. There is always or a combination thereof. But my favorite is when somebody's driving like a Buick LeSabre that was made about the time I graduated high school at over 115 miles an hour, swerving in and out of like violently.
Yeah.
Like stuff I would be hesitant to do in my car, which was like built a year or two ago and is actually a sports suspension type skinny tire car that could probably do that. These people are just flying, like just the wind. And then that's the one thing that's like, I don't know where they're going, but they're certainly getting there. I mean, the speed limit's 70. If you're passing me and I'm usually going like 80, like I'm standing still, you're well over 100. Like that's jail time if they catch you going that fast. And then my other favorite is when there's really young people driving like a nicer car, but they're driving 60 in the middle lane. It's like, oh, who's got warrants or doesn't have car insurance? Because I know you wouldn't be driving this way. You know, there's something abnormal going on here. If you were an old person in an old person's car, it makes sense. But you're a young guy in a newer, nicer car, and you're driving 60 miles an hour in the middle lane. So it's either you're drunk, you're high, or you don't have. Well, no, it's because usually they drive faster when that's the case. Or you don't have insurance, or you got warrants. So it's always like, I'll come up on someone, I'll be on the phone, I'll be like, hold on, I got a pass here. I got someone rolling a warrant on me, you know. It's see, I got to get around this guy in the Mustang who's like looks like he's 20. It's like there's no way he's driving that car that slow, unless it's you know, there's nothing good going on there. If you were driving 70, I wouldn't even notice you, but when you're driving the wrong kind of car at the wrong kind of speed, I immediately notice you, and so do cops, by the way. So for all you budding criminals out there, here's a hint: don't be obvious. Don't drive grandma's Buick from 30 years ago full blast down the freeway like it's a Ferrari, and don't drive a 2-year-old's expensive sports car like you're having a stroke. Both those things are going to indicate, hey, something's not right here, and thus a pullover will occur, and then it will be racial profiling. So
that pipe burst reminded me of something. Did you see that video of that thing in Mexico where people like tapped into like a gasoline pipeline?
Oh, and they were filling like fucking garbage cans full of gasoline and like running away with it, and then it exploded.
Yeah.
The guys were running like on fire.
Yeah. It's like a fucking horror movie. It's like, is this happening?
But it was weird because they were running at a steady pace. Like they weren't running like, I'm on fire. They're just running it is steady like that.
Yeah, just got to get away.
And they're
You're on fire, dude. Oh, yeah.
I like the fucking gush of gas that's coming out of the ground. Like it's like a wall. Like that pipe must have had a 5-foot diameter. It's like a solid wall of gas shooting out of the ground, and people are holding containers in front, trying to fill it. And then of course it explodes just from static electricity alone. And yeah, I watched that on Live Leak. I was like, this is almost like if someone put this under some action music, I'd be like, oh, this is a trailer for something weird. Like, nope, this is really going on.
This is the next Cloverfield movie.
Yeah, where's the thing gonna come out of the ground? But yeah, the people running at like an intermediate pace, that was almost the weirdest thing, because you'd think people would just be like balls out like, I'm on fire. But no, yeah, that was those images will stick in my mind.
And like, what was it, like 100 people were killed and like 200 were injured, or was it 200 people were killed and way more people were injured?
When I saw it, I don't know if they had statistics out. I heard 75, but I'm sure that was just
okay.
It looked like a hell of a. Well, I mean, when you're feeding a fire with a wall of gasoline, it's going to be a hell of a fire. That's not going out. But they were hitting it with axes. Like, because there's like a before and after there. Like, they're just fucking going at it with pickaxes. It's like, that is refined gasoline. What do you think? Just, ching, let's throw sparks everywhere.
And they're just like kicking it open like it's a fucking fire hydrant in New York in 1930s.
Yeah, this isn't going to burst into flames and kill a bunch of people. Oh. And gasoline is horrendously explosive, too. People cannot appreciate the power pound for pound that gasoline packs until you've taken a glass bottle with a nice rubber seal on it, filled it with gas, and thrown it in a fire and watched from like 100 feet away. I'll be safe, and like a shockwave hits you. Fire is blown out. It's like, and that's like a gallon of gasoline, so I can't imagine 5,000 gallons a minute what that's gonna do.
Yeah, gushing out like it's a fire hose.
Yeah. Volcano of gasoline. Just makes me glad that all I have to deal with is they don't have my flavor of yogurt. I'm not out there swinging an axe at a fucking petroleum line so I can heat my house or feed my family or whatever these people are. I don't know anything about Mexico. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like kind of a weird, cool place, but not a place you want to live.
Yeah. You figured by now you'd be safe to drink the water, but that's still like a thing.
No, well, yeah. Water treatment's many pesos.
Beverage break.
Yep. The old swallow break.
Now we'll rustle some papers.
Yeah. And, have a teletype machine running in the
The good old Rush Limbaugh pause.
Yeah.
Fuck, what else am I going to talk about? Well, folks.
You light this cigar. Let me get an ice cream scoop full of Vicodin. Keep this dog and pony show a-rolling.
Vicodin's not doing it anymore. Do you have any surgical grade anesthesia I can swallow?
Do you have any water soluble surgical drugs? I like it when he was talking, because I guess his housekeeper and other people were getting him all the drugs because of course they knew people, and he had literally unlimited amounts of money, and it was like garbage bags full of like you got to roll it in a bin. It's like that should be enough. How long will that keep?
I got a Florida keg of pills.
Florida keg. Yeah, the Florida pony keg. It's really what you haven't. Oxycontin. I just wanted some beer. You just pull a tap and a beer sign. Guzzling that shit down, eating it out of a cereal bowl. What is that? This is Vicodin.
You gotta chew it to get to the good center.
Yeah. Got to get past the time release shit. Part, then you get the nougaty center of joy. Feel like God for 15 seconds. It's all worth it, kids. It pays off.
It's like you're dead, but you're living.
Yeah. Now I'm only dead on the inside. Hold on, I gotta type in the title of the show. Florida Pony Kid. Yeah, that's Rush Limbaugh. Haven't listened to him in years. Still one of my favorite bullshit artists. No, he's on board with Trump land, isn't he?
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure.
of course.
I wasn't. I don't
Well,
know
I'm
where
sure I'm sure by now he has like some sort of grading rebuttal against some of his stuff,
Yeah.
but probably on board. Because even like Fox News is like having some misgivings about completely supporting Trump.
There's a couple people on there that absolutely hate him. Shepard Smith, and because I've seen like when the Fox it changes, like when Dr. Laura and all the other the Holocaust fan fiction people, when they you can tell when the show changes from them to like I think it's Shepard Smith and some of the other people. They're like, well, guess what Trump did today? It's like it changes tunes completely, but it's still the same news network. But you can just tell when you shift gears from the Holocaust fan fiction crew to the I'm conservative, but I'm not retarded. God damn it, I'm not stupid. Like, well, yeah, you kind of are. Then again, so are the other people. Do you have a lot of dogs there?
Probably two.
Okay, I just keep hearing like yips.
One of them gets lonely.
Oh.
It's like when they hear voices and they're in a room that's cordoned off.
Oh, okay.
They're like, give me attention.
What you can do is those things.
Oh, don't worry, it's not my dog. I don't have to fucking train it.
No, you just get those horns that you buy for sporting events. Vent in the floor. You want some attention? Of course, everyone else in the house won't like that either. But yeah, that's what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Fox News, which I only watch just for pure nihilism at this point.
And the cold, and then the gas pipe thing.
Yeah, the gas pipe. Yeah, that's still an amazing video. Watch that, people, if you want to have weird dreams.
Yeah, we didn't get a truck yesterday because I guess of the weather. Although I think there's something fucked with our distribution center.
Oh,
because I was looking at the sales numbers today, which I usually don't because I don't care. It's like I do a good job, I know it, and it's like, oh, we're 11th in the market. I'm like, the fuck how? And it's like, oh, they do it by year-over-year percentages.
yeah.
So the number one in the market, I was like, oh, they're up 13% from last year, and they have $6,000 in sales. This is just for Frozen. Like, I'm 11th in the market, and I have $18,000 in sales, and I'm down 5%. Somehow I'm 11th in the market, even though I sold more than anybody else. Yeah, and I could have sold more had they fucking sent me shit to sell to people.
Yeah, this is what led to the 2008 economic collapse. It's kind of fancy math.
But yeah, we didn't have a truck come in last night, and we were supposed to get the biggest truck like since Thanksgiving, because the weather, they weren't getting that many trucks on my days off because that's basically when the weather happened, and then we didn't get the truck. They're like, oh, it's delayed, it'll be here, and then it didn't get here till like 5.
Okay.
It's like, oh, that's yeah. So I was just assumed that oh, they sent us a truck and it's just in a fucking ditch somewhere.
Driver's dead. all with strippers.
Yeah, because basically we were going to get 2 trucks today, but I guess they canceled the other truck and just sent us the one truck they were supposed to send us beforehand.
Huh.
Oh, well, that happens.
Who knows? Yeah. I went to Sam's Club today. Going to pick up a few things, and I found out something very important. Never go to Sam's Club the day before Super Bowl. Jesus. There was like no place to park. People were literally grabbing, like they had, the on the border chips, like the nacho chips.
Yeah.
They had that and the 5-gallon bucket of nacho cheese and the Hormel chili cans. It's like all your staple foods like that, like right up by the front. People were grabbing that stuff like the famine was. It's like, how many gallons of cheese are they going to sell today?
Oh, yeah, it's tons. It's tons. Yeah, because we just have like all our appetizers out right now. Awesome, but it's another thing. Here's a tip. Here's when to not go shopping. The first of any month, the first weekend of any month, do not go shopping.
Oh, why? What is that, like inventory?
Because that's when like all the government money comes in, all EBT cards get refilled and stuff like that. So it's just full. So like everybody's coming in and basically just spending all their money for food for that month.
I totally forgot about that.
And so you couple that with a Super Bowl weekend, it's like a lot of people are there for what's not a holiday. And also because it's not a holiday, that means they're not staffed up for something that's basically a holiday level of sales.
Right. Well, yeah, it'll be, I've heard projections at work, like the number of cars produced and the volume profit. It's the lowest. It's one of the low points of the year for the auto industry. This is the Monday after Super Bowl. Because I've begun in there before. Every plant I've worked, it's like, oh, there's just a tumbleweed made of wire around. There's no one there. You're not going to run half the equipment. Because people who never miss any other day, they'll just miss that day because everyone tries to get it off. And they're like, we only got slots for 5 people. Okay, well, fuck you. I never miss, so see you Tuesday, asshole. That's one of the reasons why there's actually a conspiracy theory. I don't know how true it is about why the Lions will never go to a Super Bowl as long as the Ford family owns them. Because they are more served by having their auto plants staffed. It costs them more money than to have the Lions win a Super Bowl. That the Lions never win because they know there will be no auto production that right area. I don't know how true. Now my dog's barking. I don't know how true that is, but they have. It's yeah. This Monday is just going to be a joke.
But I always thought I just assumed like Super Bowl would be like the time where you sell the most beer or something, but I guess not really. It's I think number 1 is 4th of July, and I believe number 2 is Memorial Day.
Oh, one's kind of happy, the other one. There's not a lot of good drinking going on. But they should sell liquor, especially for holidays. They should brand it like Shadow of Regret by Jack. It's got a bunch of candles on it and kind of a flag in grayscale. It's as cynical as marketing people are, I'm surprised they don't do that.
Oh, this probably is because I know they do for 4th of July. They do have like red, white, and blue flag beers and shit like that. Because Budweiser does shit like that, but not for Memorial Day. Maybe they think that's. Well, no, I guess they'll tap into that at some point.
Yeah, it's not too crass anymore. There's no limits. It's like nothing matters.
Well, maybe that's not something for Budweiser, but for any other cynical beer maker that has a really small market share, it's like it will stand out.
Yeah.
This will do gangbusters in Oregon or in Portland.
What now?
I said this will do gangbusters in Portland.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's. Wouldn't surprise me. I always thought Christmas and Thanksgiving would be a great time for liquor sales.
Oh yeah, I mean that's you sell everything around that time. It's like even though it's like, oh, people are spending way too much money on physical things or toys or whatever. It's like still buying the same amount of food and alcohol. Actually, more so. So yeah,
Steady stream.
yeah, it never stops.
Yeah, they have. What's the rules around here? I mean, it's basically all the federal. But like an election day is the one that always gets people because you can't buy booze on election day. So the stores around here will start putting like.
Is that a state thing, or is
it's
that
a federal thing?
okay? Yeah, I guess I don't buy booze, so I wouldn't come across that impasse.
Yeah, you can't sell booze after 3 a.m. and there's a bunch of stupid shit like that. But also, there's like certain holidays you can't sell booze on, and and election day is one I know of.
Huh.
But so what they do is like the week before they put all the liquor and hard liquor and stuff up front, and it'll basically be like stock up now, election day, and because everyone's just an alcoholic here. I mean, there's more hard drinking going on here than anywhere I've ever seen. Maybe it's just because I actually pay attention here because I'm an adult, but there are people that just 2/5 of liquor every week. This is to get me through the week, and this one's my weekend fifth. It's like, oh, okay. Got 2/5 of liquor. Which is okay occasionally.
Not as a daily courage booster.
Well, the thing with the 2/5 of liquor, when you got your, I'm going to pound some hard liquor after work every day during the week, and then I've got my weekend fifth to get me through the weekend. It's like, oh, you're just drinking hard liquor every fucking day. There's nothing wrong with a beer or two after work, but when it's like, see, when you start getting in the danger zone, it's like, if I just had that one shot after my shower in the morning, it's like, oh, okay, you're tipping over into something bad here. Just that one shot to brace me for the day, and then before you know it, you're drinking at lunch, and then after, by the time you get home, you're just coasting. You're already lit, and it's time to crack open 6 or 10 beers in the garage. It's like, oh, okay, you're an alcoholic now. Congratulations, you win. You're gonna be going to meetings before you know it. Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me of something. Well, I was looking up a canceled television show thing. Actually, it was a list of what shows were renewed and canceled. And holy fuck, are there a lot of shows in production on networks I've never fucking heard of.
Oh, okay.
And I can't remember the name of the show. I'll have to look it up. But it was Ron Livingston has a show that's like in its 3rd season. It's being renewed.
Okay.
Where he it's like an alcoholic writer who's running AA meetings in like the like garage of some business or something like that.
Okay.
And it's on some like AT&T channel, like deep cable channel.
Deep cable.
Let me look. It has a weird name. It's something Milk. It has a weird name. Louder Milk.
I've never heard of that.
Yep. It was produced by the Duplass brothers. So, which they do a lot of shit. A lot of just like shaky cam, almost practically document. It's almost like they shoot it like a documentary style, and then just people like improv the script. It's kind of that stuff. But they usually do a good job with it.
Oh, okay.
They made movies like Cyrus and Jeff Who Lives at Home. Like they did. I'm not sure. Well, I know one of the brothers starred in it. He was on the League show, but I'm not sure if he produced or directed any of that with his brother at all.
Oh, okay.
They did some HBO, sort of like Twilight Zone show recently. It's like it was a motel, and it was just about the stories that happened in this one room at the motel, and each show episode was a different story that happened in the hotel at different times and stuff like that. It seemed interesting, but I never watched it. But yeah, that was those weird. There was a bunch of shows and like oh yeah, WGN makes shows.
Oh, that's right. What was the last thing I watched that WGN made?
Well, I remember they made one called Manhattan about the Manhattan Project.
One. Yep.
I'm not sure if that's still around. They have one out it's just like witches or what it was. No, Salem. It's about witches,
Oh, okay.
and they have some other show, but I don't like I don't have a TV. I don't like flip through channels anymore, so I have no idea what the fuck's on WGN because they used to just be it's like oh it's Chicago news and then like some you know just what do you call that, syndicated stuff on syndication. It's like oh Ghostbusters is on WGN, cool.
Yeah, I used to watch that stuff like that. They used to run a lot of weird sci-fi on there too.
Yeah, and also they had at some point both them and TBS were called the Superstation.
Yes,
That was their nickname. That was fucking stupid as shit in the world.
Yeah, Manhattan was interesting because it talked about the Manhattan Project, and it was like you had Oppenheimer and stuff, but there was a lot of retconning there to make it interesting and exciting.
Oh yeah.
Drama and stories, and it was like Russian spies and sex and it's, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, it was interesting though. It was very dark. It was a very bleak show.
Huh.
Because some of these people were not happy. Some of these people definitely thought this was a little morally ambiguous. I mean, all the stuff that like they didn't go on back then because they were like, win the war, stop the killing. Later on, we can be doubtful about what we're doing.
Well, I was reading that Richard Feinstein book, and like he's talking about stuff where like he's like having fun picking locks and stuff around there. It's like, hey, you see how bad security is here? And he's like, but he's just doing it for fun, while he's calculating the best way to how high the bomb should detonate to have a recursive blast wave that cause as much damage as possible.
Yeah. I can get the most thermal and physical effects out of this. Oh, look how quick I can pick this lock. Beer pong, anyone?
But he was an eccentric guy, so yeah.
Feynman?
Yeah, Feynman, that's her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I read that book you told me.
Yeah, which one was that?
Really, you're joking, Mr. Feynman?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, it's a good book. I can't. There was a trick in there where you could calculate that seemingly almost impossible numbers, like to the square root, doing like simple math, but it only works on very specific numbers. But like you can look like a genius when you do it. It's like, oh, that's a fun trick. This guy did so much math, he just found these weird loopholes. It's like,
yeah, he's doing like the equivalent of billiard tricks. I like, who's the other guy? There was a cosmologist. I forget who he was. He's like kind of a science popularizer / real scientist. And so he does like real work, and then he comes out and he talks to people, but he's like open to all kinds of things. And well, he's the one who like broke down the Fermi paradox into like really, because people were asking about what do you think about life in outer space, and he's a cosmologist, and you know, he says he likes to talk to people because most of the time no one has any idea what he's talking about. Because you know, there's things like calculating orbits, like his specialty is like, how do you know a planet weighs a certain amount, and you know, how much does it displace, and what kind of life might exist on it. But he was breaking down the Fermi paradox and even further scenarios about life on other planets and all that. And he goes, one of the things he said was, I think this guy was on Joe Rogan this week too, but I've read his book. But he was basically saying one of the things about our planetary system and our solar system specifically, it's pretty stable. Because you can have a planet, like he was talking about the TRAPPIST 1327 system, which was the one, it's like they have 5 planets in the potential life belt of their sun. And he's like, yeah, it took 3 billion years for life to form on Earth. And a lot of that time it was just algae that like couldn't adapt to anything. It was just algae. He goes, a lot of those planets, like if they're colliding with each other or their moons are unstable or something, and they blow up or something, a moon collides with one of those planets, even in a million years, it's like, well, there's going to be no life there. Then it's going to reset the whole process.
Which happened tons of times on Earth too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But his thing about it was like, yeah, there's other life in the universe. But he said a lot of people imagine like because he said one of the faults in the Star Trek universe, at least as we understand it, is they make it seem like somebody fired a starter pistol and life simultaneously happened on all these planets, and everyone's at roughly the same technological level, and they evolved, and it's like, no, that's not how it's gonna. There's gonna be cavemen and us, and then there's gonna be like maybe beings of light or something, beyond us. And he says, yeah, that's how life in the universe is gonna be. So the chances of us encountering it are just like almost non-existent. Because you have to have, not only do you have to have a solar system like ours, but you have to have a stable one. You have to have one that doesn't have a lot of asteroids slamming into the planets every 100 years or so, because life isn't going to form there. So he was talking about stuff like that. And so, but his thing was like, yes, there are aliens, I'm certain of it, but no, we will never probably ever meet them, because we're at some point and they're probably still algae or vice versa. And that's just how it works. So it's kind of interesting.
Well, they had a First Contact episode on Orville this season.
Oh yeah,
that was pretty good. Because it was basically a racism episode that was done in a way I haven't seen before.
Okay.
Well, not. I mean, it's the usual way, but they found a weird way to get around it. So they have First Contact with this planet. They go there and it's like, hey, how's it going? They have a dinner, and then the doctor's there, and like this is like, hey, why do you have you have a ton of premature births on this planet? Like, what the fuck's going on here? And then simultaneously they're at this dinner, and somebody says it's their birthday, and then that insults them immediately, and they like incarcerate them and put them in an internment camp.
Oh, okay.
It's like, what? Then they like, for like half the episode, they have no idea what the fuck's going on. It's like, oh, this planet, like, oh, they've, as they evolved, they took astrology way too seriously. So anybody's born in this certain month, they're considered to be like, they're like
a caste system.
Yeah, it's like if you're born in this month, you're overly aggressive. You're gonna be like a dredge on society, and so they just like put them away if you're ever born in this month, and that's why people have are getting getting C-sections and stuff like that early because they don't want their baby born in the bad month because it's just gonna be taken away from them and put them in a tournament camp.
Oh wow!
So I thought that was an interesting way to it wasn't like straight up racism. It wasn't because anybody looked different or anything like that. It was just literally when you're fucking born.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to catch up on that show some more.
Yeah, it's been pretty good this season. And like funnier too, because I know they ride that line kind of poorly at times, but it's been pretty. There was an episode. So you have the doctor. Last season there is a episode where like she's going on vacation with her kids, and then the robot guy is with her, and they crash land on a planet, and that whole episode, like there's not even a joke. I don't think there's a joke in that entire episode because it's just a pure like survival on this planet episode.
Oh, okay.
And I think that was like the first episode. I was like, oh, this isn't just like The Office in space. Like this is just TNG.
This is the only real Star Trek on TV right now.
Yeah. And it's not that they're doing anything new. They're treading pretty ground that's been treaded upon several times, but it's just comforting to see somebody do it when nobody else is.
Yeah.
And they put it on Thursday, so I think it's getting good ratings because you put a show on Thursday, you kind of expect it to do because most sci-fi shows are put on Friday because it's like that's when the losers watch it because everybody else is going on a date or watching a movie.
Yeah, Friday's nerd night.
But so yeah, this season they have there's like she starts to have a relationship with like the robot who's purely analytical. Like he's only on this crew from his planet as to observe humans. Is like, well, I guess I'll observe what dating's like. There's some pretty funny. There's a part where like, well, this is over with, so I guess I've obtained all the information I need to, so I need to break up with her, but I didn't know how to do that. And like somebody tells him like, well, just become so unappealing that she breaks up with you. And like, he's a robot, but he like basically dresses in a wife beater and some like underwear, and then like is like looking like he's drinking alcohol, like sitting on her couch, but he's like talking in a very like this robotic kind of ways. And there's something he says like something about like it looks like you're getting fat or something like that, but in a more technical way. And she's like, "Excuse me?" And he's like, "Well, being that I am incapable of studying, I believe that you heard me." And he does like this hand signal, like it's really fun. I don't know. It was funny.
It sounds. I can imagine it. Yeah.
But yeah, they're kind of. That was kind of like the more jokey episode, but it was an interesting, relationship building episode, I guess.
Yeah.
And then they've had some pretty serious episodes this season. It's like the next gen's back on television.
Yeah.
Just Seth MacFarlane's there.
Kind of what it's meant to do, because they've managed to kill Star Trek completely.
Well, I don't know. I haven't watched the new season. I think people like it, but it's just not really. Yeah, like I said, it's not really Star Trek.
Yeah.
Or it's not even, or at least it's not like the hopeful, analytical. Let's not shoot first. Let's like try to indulge in other people's cultures.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like the first trailer for the second season for Discovery seemed like they were kind of going against what they did in the first season. Like, oh, we're gonna lighten it up and it's gonna be more like scientific, but I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know if that holds true.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm waiting. I'm gonna drop go into my trial period on that. Watch them all.
Oh, but yeah, because that Jordan Peele Twilight Zone show is going to be coming out this year, so that'll be like, potentially 2 shows to watch on that thing.
Yeah.
Unless you really want to watch procedural cop dramas that CBS produces.
Just unlimited amount of them.
What NCIS are you on? It's it.
Boatload of money off those.
Yeah, well, it's weird because like that just piggybacked off of like CSI.
Yeah.
Like I figured like CSI would almost last forever, and like they made 4 different shows, and now all CSIs are gone. But like NCIS just picked up. It was always there at the same, it was alongside it, and NCIS was always kind of considered lesser than CSI, and then it just like picked up the steam somehow and like became the #1 show.
Well, the first one that did that was Law and Order, because that started off as Law and Order.
Yeah.
We had Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Yep.
And then what was the other one?
Criminal Intent.
Yeah.
And then there was Law and Order Los Angeles, which lasted 1 season.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it was just 1 season. But
And I remember I watched the weird Law and Order UK.
oh yeah.
All the British actors from Battlestar Galactica as cops. And it was the British legal system, and I was watching it, and it's like, oh wow, this is just a surveillance state. Nobody has any, like, if you can't convince the judge, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It's just whatever the judge says. It's like, that's an interesting standard of law they have over there. But it was all poor people too, and they even said that sometimes. It's like, these are just poor people. The British legal system doesn't work for you unless you have a lot of money. You can't access the money. You can't access this. And that was a running theme through that show.
Oh.
It's because most of the crimes these people were dealing with were in like the housing projects in London and stuff. And it's like, these are all poor people. They're just going to get steamrollered by this system. But then like you have those crazy like Canadian, European sentencing guidelines where someone like stab his buddy, or somebody will die and because of somebody's actions, or there'll be rape or something. Then you'll hear like 2 to 3 years in prison. You're like, what? It's like, you should be going to prison the rest of his life for that. Well, we're going to give him some rehabilitation. It's like, oh, okay, this is your merry-go-round. Okay, yeah, good luck with that. And they had a lot of stuff with like people from the Middle East, where they were either committing crimes or having crimes committed against them, and like the whole system was totally biased against them. Like, yeah, even the cops would be rolling their eyes, like, okay, yeah, he stole your money, right? Your money, and it was kind of brutal. They had but that was like them copying an American show. They had their own TV show over there. I think it was called The Blue Line or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And it was basically the guys in the just street police, and they were near housing projects or whatever over there. But some of those storylines got dark, because it would go from being like almost a Mr. Bean skit, some shows, to like one of the cops got stabbed to death by people, and then people were taking vengeance on these people. The other cops were, and it was like, oh wow, this is a weird show, because it just seems to swing from one way to another. They had a lot of racism in that one too, because they had a lot of cops, like young cops were coming up, were like Pakistani immigrants and stuff, and the other cops were like, no, this isn't gonna happen.
You're just a criminal in a cop uniform.
You're just one of the what they call. I mean, they had all kind of British names for them, but yeah, basically just terrible racist things they'd say about them. But that was like from the 90s. I don't know what they do now, because we don't have BBC America anymore on our cable.
I mean, they got plenty of cop shows. They're just on Netflix.
Yeah.
Whatever David Tennant's like third procedural cop show that you never heard of.
Yeah.
I know that they did that MI6 show, but I'm not sure if that's still around. I never watched it. I've heard good things, but I just never bothered to watch it. It's like, I've seen 8 seasons of 24. I'm done with that.
Yeah, I haven't watched a lot of series from. Well, like I said, when I had BBC America, I'd always put something on. It's like, well, what's this going to be about? Some of it.
I pretty much just watched Doctor Who.
Yeah.
That was about it.
Or cops on the islands off Scotland, like whatever's going on there, which is like weird shows about seaplane cops off Scotland. This is weird. It's like, is this your Magnum PI?
I did get into what was it, The Misfits. That was a decent show. It's kind of like a weird superhero show.
Oh, was it? Okay.
It had the guy, the bastard who tortured the one guy in Game of Thrones. Like, he was on there.
Oh, okay. That actor.
Yeah, and that they had like a good first 3 seasons, and like I think the show like basically switched hands, and they basically like killed off the entire cast except for one person, and then that was pretty much the end of the show.
Ta-da!
Which sounds like that's what happens to British shows. Well, they usually just like, well, we're just gonna stop making it. They usually don't like, no, the name has weight. Let's keep making shows.
Yeah, just 2-season arc. It's the most popular show on TV. We're done. On to the next thing. Let's make another period drama. What? Let's see that.
That's kind of what happened with Spaced, right? That was like 2 seasons, and they all started making movies. It's like, well, there's no money or future here, but we made some good stuff while we're here.
Yeah, this was fun to get started. This was like our training wheels, but now we want to make real money. Like Ricky Gervais will tell you about all the time. It's like, why did the British Office only have 2 seasons? It's like, because I didn't want to starve to death. I didn't want to do like 10 getting paid shit. Dealing with a bunch of drunk writers that I couldn't fire because of union rules. He had this whole diatribe because he was talking. I was forgetting what the interview was, but it's like, why did the American office last so long, and the British office, which was really the original office, was just as strong initially? It's like, why did it go away? And he goes, because you have real writers here that are like they're not beholden to some network that's just going to be like, no, you have to have these guys and you have to use their ideas and you have to do everything this way. It's like in America, you just, if people suck, you get rid of them.
Yeah, I remember somebody's asking him once, or it was on Twitter. They're asking, was like, it's like, it's like something like, are you mad that the American Office is more popular than the show you created? And he's like, well, being that I get money from that one, no.
Absolutely not.
So I think like it's the most watched show on Netflix.
Yeah.
And I believe they updated their contract for something like $200 million to like reserve it for like the next 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, and like how much money of that's going to Ricky Gervais for doing nothing.
A lot.
Yeah, absolutely. All he did was create the show in Britain. He had nothing to do with the American version.
No, he just coasts on residuals. I mean, I think that's him and Stephen Merchant. That's still like the big thing they ever did, was create The Office.
He's got
nothing they've done since has been really that as successful as that.
They've done a lot of weird movies.
Oh yeah, a lot of weird movies.
But Stephen Merchant, he has a new movie coming out produced by the WWE.
Oh, that's right.
It has The Rock in it as a guest character, and The Rock produced it.
I think you were telling me about this. Yeah.
I don't think I told you about this, but
What's it called?
Wrestling with My Family.
Oh wait, no, you didn't tell me about this one. Okay.
This is the true life story about Paige, which I don't know her actual name, but in WWE she is just Paige. Well, it ends up being a sad story. Anyways, her family was a bunch of wrestlers, and then so her and her brother were also training to be wrestlers. And there was a documentary they did about that, so this is kind of based on that documentary more or less. And here they have access to all the WWE stuff and but kind of write around it to increase the drama. But they got called in for tryouts from WWE, and her brother didn't make it, but she did, and so it was kind of like her being lonely, trying to make it big, and then like she like, and this is kind of before what they call the women's revolution, when like now the women are like have as good as matches as the men now.
Okay.
This is kind of still back in the days where it was like the women's division was just a joke. And it's like, yeah, let's put some tits on television. Like that's as much as I thought about it.
One step away from
well, they probably still had that. And so I actually saw so she was in their development of NXT, but I never saw like that time because I didn't really watch that stuff at the time. But I did see her. Was exciting about it. She came up from her first day when they called her up from NXT. She wins the women's championship, which was called the Divas Championship because that was called the Divas division. But now they got rid of that because they kind of see that as like slighting the women's wrestlers to call them divas. Now it's just the women's championship. But yeah, I was like, she's really great at what she did. She's great, talker. She like looked cool. She was like every, just goth cheerleader kind of thing going on with her. She's British. She had a cool moveset. So I was like, yeah, so I think that's probably where the movie ends. Because what happens after that's really sad. Because at some point, I think she gets hurt, and then she gets suspended, I believe, for doing drugs.
Okay.
Several times, and then while she's suspended, she isn't getting paid at all, because you only make money if you work
right
a show. And then she made a lot of sex tapes for her boyfriends.
That's always nice.
So that got out there on the internet. And then she someplace she wrestled again. Something happened to her neck where she had to have screws put in her neck so that she could wrestle again.
Huh.
And then one show, it's what they call a house show, so it's not televised. So it's just it's just like, you go to the show and like they put on a wrestling event, but it's like not necessarily, there's not like a continuing continuity. They can kind of do whatever the hell they want. And she gets kicked in the back, and her arms and legs go numb. And she and then she eventually gets up and walks out of there, and then she goes to the doctor, and she's hoping it's like, oh, you just gotta rest. And the doctor comes back and it's like, you see that spot there? Like, you're supposed to have spinal fluid there and you don't. I don't know how you're walking right now.
It's always good when a doctor says that. It's not working on you right now.
So then she had to retire from wrestling after that. So.
Oh, okay.
They did give her she has like an on-screen position as she did as the manager of SmackDown. So she was actually like, I don't think she was just doing an on-screen persona. I think she was doing some back-scene stuff too. But I don't know. But they fired her this year, not really, but in the fiction, yeah. So I'm not sure if they're what she's doing right now, but yeah. So that's the movie coming out, and Stephen Merchant directs it, and he's in it a bit, and Nick Frost is in it as her dad, and The Rock's in it. So I don't know, could be good.
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe it might be the first good WWE produced movie, because they pretty much have universally been shit.
I didn't even know. Yeah, I didn't know they.
Yeah, they make their own movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the John Cena starred in a movie called The Marine. That was one of the first movies they made.
Okay.
And there's now 6 Marine movies.
Oh, okay.
Which ever since, I believe, the Miz, I don't know, they just call him the Miz. That's his wrestling name. He's starred in all the sequels. So John Cena, the first one, and he's done 2 through 6.
Oh, okay.
John Cena also starred in another movie called 12 Rounds, which is just kind of like a Die Hard with a Vengeance kind of movie.
Okay.
With Littlefinger as the bad guy.
Okay.
They're just these low budget action movies starring wrestlers. And so there have subsequent been more 12 round movies, but now they just star various wrestlers. I saw the third 12 rounds movie because it starred Dean Ambrose, which I like that guy. So I was like, I'll watch this movie. It's a fucking terrible movie.
Just doesn't come together, huh?
Well, I mean, it's just a Die Hard ripoff, and I think they actually production wise, it's that's a lot more impressive than I thought a more impressive effort than I thought they were going to put into it. But Dean Ambrose is not a good actor, and I wanted to like him in the movie, and I couldn't.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they're just universally terrible movies.
Just kind of bad action movies.
Yeah, well, I some of the action is okay, but the acting and the writing is terrible.
Yeah, so they're getting one of the 4 things right.
Yeah. They got the dude that directed the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo trilogy to make a serious action drama movie with Colin Farrell and Halle Berry or some shit in it. And the trailer looked well, that could be good, but apparently it was shit. But it's oh, at least they tried.
Yeah. They tried to put some elements in there.
So this seems might be the first movie they produced that's actually good. Although I do hear people like that first Marine movie. It's a stupid action movie, but it's enjoyable enough.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't seen it. Because weirdly enough, I think you just have to. They're I don't think any of those movies are streaming anywhere, not even on their fucking network. So they just make you buy them.
Yep, just got to go buy the discs at Walmart.
I mean, that's probably still a huge amount of business for them. So
yeah,
Yeah, if you go through Walmart and like you'll see like an accidental like wrestling DVD that'll be like a compilation of like their wrestler. Like I guess that's still like a huge business, but like yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just like it's like the southern parts of America selling DVDs. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Like because people don't download music onto MP3 players. A lot of people don't have internet access. I mean, not a lot, but internet access isn't as abundant, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's why like Nashville wasn't hurt so much by the advent of the internet because they still like it's still like CDs and stuff down there. Like people aren't digitally downloading.
Yeah. They don't trust that stuff because the government doesn't want it. They want the government spying on it.
Well, if you're passionate about it enough, yeah, I figure you want a physical copy of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I still get Nine Inch Nails CDs, even though I'm never gonna fucking put that in anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just gonna sit there.
Yeah, I get that. I still buy stuff. So, discovered a new TV show on the History Channel. I don't know if you.
They have one besides the Blue Book or
No, the Blue Book.
or Project Blue Book.
Yeah, I'm being patient with that.
Yeah, I saw 2 episodes. I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah, it's like just perfectly okay. It's very milk toast though. It's not really like taken off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's finding itself or if this is the best it's going to get. Because if it is, it's going to be one and done. It seems to want to introduce an overarching story, but it's not that compelling.
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of like there's the you got the military guys just being angry at the end of every show.
Yes.
You have people just randomly being killed.
Yeah.
And then you have the guy in the the guy in the coat and hat that's just mysterious and unexplained.
Yeah, the Men in Black guys.
Yeah. Who the only interesting thing there is like, okay, they seem to obviously not be working with the government. So that's kind of a twist.
Yeah. But it's like, are they the Russians or are they something else?
Aliens?
Yeah. You don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to wait and see. I'm not going to pass judgment until I'm going to give it a shot because I like the concept a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so far it's not really. But it's got to find its way. So it either will or it won't.
Yeah, and this could be a thing of like, had they released all the episodes, we would have never seen these bumps. But because it's week to week, we see the bumps and feel them.
Yeah, because when you just blast it all out at once, it's like, oh, this is great. This was a great series. You're gonna love it. But
you watch it one at a time, and it's like, the part where they fucked up, and you got a week to dwell on what they fucked up rather than what they're doing good.
Yeah. No, the new history show I was talking about besides that was Night Fight.
Oh yeah.
Which is
Did that premiere?
Yeah, it's second episode this week. It's going to pair up with my other favorite History Channel show, Forged in Fire. So, because they've always been trying to find a pair show for Forged in Fire. Because Forged in Fire is like the most popular show that costs $15,000 an episode to make that they've ever had. And actually, Forged in Fire is a cool show. It's just kind of different. But yeah, Night Fight is nuts. It's like a combination of MMA and it's actually based on a real thing called the Armored Combat League.
Okay.
That's where most of these guys come from.
Okay.
And
so is this going to be a separate from that? Is this a new league, or are they basically just documenting the Armored Combat League?
No, well, Night Fight's its own thing, but they're drawing from because like the first episode they had a lot of guys from the Armored Combat League. And they had one guy who was an MMA fighter who'd never worn armor until like right before the show.
Okay.
And because these guys, you can just go in there and just whack the shit out of each other. The only limits are no stabbing strikes and all the weapons are blunt edge. So no like sharp weapons and no like running at someone with a sword. You'd kill them. But yeah, these guys take some wicked hits. The guy, I think one of the like top contenders in the Armored Combat League, his nickname's Bam Bam. But But his specialty is not. I mean, well, he's 300 pounds and like 6'5", and he looks like an athlete. So that's his first talent. Is he's a monster, and then he's in armor, and then his ability to throw punches is incredible. Because what happens is he gets people against the wall, and then he just like he'll stop using his sword or his axe or whatever, and just start punching you with a steel. People will go down really fast, but yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts to watch because like they'll like and then they have the first round, which is you show up with your armor and whatever your favorite weapon is, and then it's 6 guys, and it's just a melee. No one's teamed up or anything. You just go in there and just start swinging away at each other. And then
is it teams or like all
the first round is all just guys going
free for all? Okay.
Free for all. And then the second round is I think 4 of the guys make it. The top 4 from melee make it, and then they're put in armor and given weapons of a certain period. Like this week, it was the Scots versus the Britons in like the era of Braveheart, and so they would have the weapons and stuff from that time, and the shields, and they were showing these people putting.
Keep talking. I'm gonna go.
Okay, yeah, and they were having these people put on the chainmail and work with the armor and stuff so that they would be like period accurate, and then they had people doing because what they'll do is they'll go and they'll meet like with an armorer who will fit their armor, make sure that they're what they're wearing for the period stuff is fine, and then when they come back in the last tournament is just the top 2 guys fight each other in their own armor again, but it's just man on man, one guy on another combat, and that can get pretty interesting sometimes. Unless one guy's really beat by the last round, then it's like you almost know who's going to win. But this is only episode 2, so we'll see what happens there. Depends on where the show's going to go and how many guys they're going to find, because it looks like concussion after concussion to me. We'll have to see what goes on. So yeah, it's a pretty cool show.
All right,
check it out. We can talk more in detail about it.
Yeah, I watch wrestling, so this have to be like at least I'll be patently less ridiculous. So.
Yeah, well, one thing that strikes me in this is these people are exhausted very quickly.
Oh yeah.
I mean, some of these guys, like they had guys on there that were like they look like dancers almost, like the way they could move, and you just giant gorilla guys. But by the end of like a 2-minute melee, these guys are just like peeling their helmets off, sitting against the bar, guzzling down water like holy shit. Because to us it looks slow. To watch it, you see some good hits and stuff, but it's really hard to appreciate how hyped up these guys are. And sometimes these guys, as like, because you get there's certain critiques, you get strikes if you hit someone on the head or something. It's like, yeah, he got him there. Or if you're showing good use of weapons, like, because a lot of these guys will use their swords like this. They're like, because they have steel gauntleted hands, so they're just grabbing their swords like this and they're blocking like that. And then they'll let go of it and just bring the sword down, like whack, those really long 2-handed swords, because some guys use those. But sometimes they'll just bull charge at people from behind. Like if they're attacking someone else, this guy will just run in and charge at this guy and knock him over. And
so how are things decided? Is it all judged, or are you like knocking people out, or?
It's judged. No one's getting knocked out.
Okay.
Those when you see them take their gear off, it's like that stuff's like extra padded. There's been some thought go into this. I doubt we're going to see anyone lose an arm or a leg or get killed. At least I hope not. I mean, they're definitely going at it, but it seems like.
But they're going to advertise that as a potential danger.
Yeah, no one.
You're going to watch someone die.
Yeah, I see people using axes and huge swords, and some people have like pikes. What I haven't seen though are like those real ball-fisted warhammers that are like the ones that are just made for impact trauma.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much you padded up that helmet. If someone whacks you with one of those, and I mean those one-handed warhammers, I'm not even talking about the big bruisers. I mean just those things that are just a solid steel shaft with a head like a
Yeah,
ball.
it's just it's like if a giant had a carpenter tool hammer.
Yeah, I haven't seen those. I don't know what's allowed and what isn't, because they seem to mix it up. Because some guys have like full plate armor, some guys have chainmail. Chainmail's really heavy though. One of those guys, they made him use because in the second round you got to use the weapons that they choose for you to use, and it's going to be from like a historical period. And at certain periods they use plate armor more, but chainmail was the more common, and that is really heavy. They'll put chainmail on these guys and they'll be like, holy shit. They're like 50, 80 pounds worth of armor. And they're supposed to run around this like octagon and fight each other. But it's like a dirt floor with wooden poles. And, I mean, it seems fun. So far, it's just like, and people's helmets get dented, and those nose pieces get whacked out of the way, and it's like, these guys are taking hits. Some people's noses are bleeding. So it is exciting.
Are they just presenting it as a sport, or did they go too much into the building of a drama?
More of a sport.
Okay, good.
I mean, they have drama. Like the people, like there's 3 judges. One of them's like a combat expert. One of them was the champion of the Armored Combat League, and I forget who. I think the middle guy's just like an MC. But yes, I mean they definitely. They tell an interesting story, but it's just guys bracketing up into a championship.
Okay.
There's going to be 6 episodes, 6 guys, and then everyone who wins that episode, then there's going to be a final episode, which would be like 7 or maybe 8 if they split it, and that's going to be like the guys are fighting for $50,000. A lot of these people like make their own armor and that.
Well, that was always something I hated about like a show like Top Shot, where it's like, I just want to see these people from weird backgrounds execute well in some weird redesigned event, and then that's 10 minutes of the show, and then the other 40 minutes are just this weird, like, oh, we need to build tension and all this other dumb shit.
No, this is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
This is by the producers of Forged in Fire.
Okay, all right.
It's that kind of. It's like, bring your skills. We'll have some color commentary, but yeah, we're not going to try to create a lot of artificial nonsense. It's just like, okay, who beat the hell out of the other guy? Because like the guy Bam Bam, when he was talking, because they get to deal with they have professional armorers there, and they're like, well, what can I do for your suit of armor here to get you ready for the next heat? And he's like, well, of course I've caved in my steel gauntlets punching people. And the guy was like, yeah, you certainly have. he'll be on the horn of the anvil, like straightening out his armor, and like they'll cut the chainmail so they can move around easier, and they'll give the guys who have the more homemade armor, they'll like, yeah, we're gonna redo this, like, because some of them, there's a lot of like bungee cords and spandex and real armors, and they're like, they'll just cut off leather strips. Like, they have a machine there, they just cut off leather strips and use hole punches and actually take their armor but put a strapping system on them, and the guy's like, oh wow, I can actually move now. He's like, yeah, that's how armor works. Mobile as possible. So yeah, it's people from different backgrounds and levels of expertise, but they're all pretty passionate about it, and they seem pretty upbeat so far. I mean, I'm sure we'll meet some guys that are just like way too serious about this. But yeah, I mean, like I said, they're beating the shit out of each other. It's fun to watch. It's like an hour-long show, and it feels like 15 minutes. You're like, oh, it's over. It never gets redundant or repetitive. Even when the fighting does, they kind of like switch angles and they do replays and stuff. Because some of it's, a lot of it's just 2 guys dancing around trying not to get hit by the big metal thing. And so they do kind of edit it and shoot it in a way where it's always engaging.
Yeah.
Good, because otherwise it'd be one guy chasing another guy around. It's like, I don't want to get hit by that sword. And the way they use shields is pretty cool too. Because you always think of a shield as like protect and then strike, but no, some guys will just flip that shield up and bash you in the face. It's like, oh yeah, you can do that too. A lot of punching goes on in this. And then you also appreciate, like, because some guys will get hit so hard, their weapons will get knocked out of their hands. And you think, oh, he's just going to pick that weapon up. Well, no, he either can't stoop that low because he's in armor or he has no field of vision to know where it is. Those guys just start, like, they just start duking it out. Someone will swing a sword, they'll just catch it in their hand and start punching the guy. Now, it doesn't last very long. Like I said, these fights only last a minute or two, and these guys are lathered up like horses after that. So, but yeah, like the guys that are like the dancing dude and stuff, now they're seldom out of breath. They can go for a while, but it's kind of funny because those big guys will get them against the wall and then swing a pole axe at them or something, and then they'll just, that's like lights out. It's fun, though. I don't know what you can learn from it, but it is cool to see people that are just really totally into this.
Yeah.
So I think that stuff is cool too, but to watch, not to participate. Hey, you want to get hit in the head with, essentially whacked over the head with a 2x4? No, not really. They put a bucket on your head. No. Not interesting.
Yeah, I watched it.
I don't know where it's gonna go.
I watched a reaction video on YouTube. A rugby fan watches NFL football hits.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of. I don't know. All those react videos are kind of lame, but they all have the same thing. Where it's just like, yeah, this is my thing, but I'm watching this. Somebody told me to watch this thing, and they're like, oh wow, oh shit. That's every reaction video.
Yeah.
What was kind of funny is like, yeah, he would. And it was like the worst hits that happened in the NFL. And he's like, why did he do that? He just killed that man. And I guess the thing he describes later on is that in rugby, in order to hit somebody, you have to like attempt to like wrap them up.
Yeah.
And he's watching NFL hits where like the people were just like propelling their body into another person and like flipping them end over end with no purpose to like try to grab them. They were just trying to injure that person as much as possible. Yeah. It's like that guy would be kicked out of the game if he did that in rugby. and at the end, because like I was like, there's always that statement. It's like, NFL players have to wear pads and stuff because they're a bunch of pussies, like not in rugby. And the guy watches like, oh yeah, you better be armored up to play that fucking stupid shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's there's some group of videos I used to watch because a guy was on a podcast and he was on these, it was like Irish people watching American stuff.
Yeah.
One of those guys was on one of the podcasts and he says, yeah, this is what we do. And some of it's like Irish people try like American liquor, or it's different stuff like that. But yeah, that they were watching NFL football stuff because no one understands it unless you're raised around it. Like it just looks like senseless violence.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Why are they just plowing into each other? And that guy flew through the air. I think he just broke his leg. All the time. So yeah, I've seen videos like that where foreigners watch American stuff, and they're all oohed and awed. It's like, but we could watch shit that they do. And it's like, go driving in Ireland on Sunday. Everyone's drunk.
Or those weird Scottish games where like they're throwing tree trunks around.
Oh yeah, strong man.
Or caber toss, yeah.
Rolling a stone up a hill.
Yeah.
Like, where do you find a stone ball that fucking big? Is there a shop for that? I want one of those in front of my house. It looks cool. Something about drinking in kilts that always sounded appealing to me. Those guys, those big wooden mugs, just completely hammered in a kilt. That guy is having the time of his life right now. I don't know why. He just looks like he is. So we watched a movie this week.
Yes.
Watched Kevin Smith's The Belle Epoque of the Kevin Smith.
What's that mean?
The apex, the
Oh,
greatest
okay.
part of a continuum of things. It's I got that from Chasm City, so because I described when it was the glitter band, that was the Belle Epoque of
Oh, okay.
that civilization before it became the Rust Belt, kind of like America. But anyway, yeah, we watched Dogma, which was this the most commercially viable film Kevin Smith ever did?
I don't know if it's commercially viable, but I believe it's. Well, I'm not sure how. I mean, it was his most successful movie at that time. Like, I bet, like, Zack and Mary Make a Porno probably made more money, but that was actually because I actually put money into it. It was probably more of a failure. It's like none of his movies have ever made $100 million.
No, fuck no.
So I think this made like 16. They spent like 20 on it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I watched that. I rewatched that again tonight. I found it. I remember when I first, because I know you were into this. Was Kevin Smith was more your thing.
Yeah.
Not that I have anything against him. I just was like, okay, this is funny. I found this to be a lot more juvenile this time. As being, because I remember it before. I always thought of it as like absurdist, offensive comedy.
Yeah.
Weirdly written by a guy who actually knows about all this stuff, is a Catholic, and it was kind of a wink and a nod to some of the weirder elements of Catholicism. And
Yeah.
that's kind of always where I placed this movie in my mind. And I sat down and watched it tonight, and I was like, oh, this is like dick and fart jokes with some like interesting character twists, and Alan Rickman, who was like the most memorable part of the movie.
This is a great cast. A movie that probably does not deserve this cast.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic cast.
It was Ben Affleck, Matt Damon,
Selma Hayek, Chris Rock.
But yeah, this was. I still like it, but I thought it was. I almost thought of this more as like in the era of, or in the vein of like this is a real like sophisticated anti-establishment comedy that just it's not as crude as it looks. And then you watch it, and I watched it now, and it's like, oh, this is just kind of just crude, and it almost gets carried away with itself. Not that I hate it, but
Well, it's like it does.
it's not as smart as I remember it being.
Well, it is. I don't know. It's like there's like good, sort of like dramatic parts.
Yeah,
And there's like just good like dick and fart joke parts, and they're a weird thing to pair together.
yeah,
It's like this is a movie that probably never should get made because it's like almost 40 different movies crammed together into one.
yeah.
But because it is. Yeah, you look into this stuff, it's like, oh yeah, like all this shit mentioned in this movie, like, you know, yeah, it has a base. Like, you can find that in the Bible and all this other shit. It's like, yeah, Kevin Smith knew his shit, but he also had to make a dick and fart joke movie. But
It's like Jason Lee is the Angel of Death too. That was a good.
no, Jason Lee was the demon.
Azrael. Yeah.
Because Matt Damon was the angel of death. He was Loki, the angel of death, and he put down his sword because Bartleby convinced him to. You got George Carlin as the priest.
Yeah.
He creates Buddy Christ.
which is still an internet meme to this day. But it's mainly a Catholic priest rape children meme with Buddy Christ. It's almost not as fun as like this was. It's like more dark. But yeah, it's Buddy Christ is still around, and Alanis Morissette
Yep.
as God.
And then Linda Florentino.
Oh, as Mary's descendant.
Yeah. She.
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah, it seemed like her and Kevin Smith didn't get along too well while making this movie. Although, watching it now, it's like they put her pairing her up with Jay and Silent Bob, where he's just constantly just like, "Oh, you're gonna blow us," like just constant sex jokes. It's like, oh yeah, this is just basically sexual harassment.
Yeah, she's like 60 now, so she was probably one of the older cast members.
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, she only did like 2 more movies after this. So it's kind of, well, no, I'm good. Last movie she did was 2009, and I don't recognize what it was. And the last movie I remember she did was Liberty Stands Till, which was came out around the same time as that phone booth movie, and it's pretty much the exact same plot.
That's right.
But Liberty Stands Till still was the lesser of the two.
Yeah. So, but this movie, if you're into streaming, you won't find it.
You had to.
Pick up a physical copy that I had.
Well, I'd have found some a link on YouTube. Somebody had it, but they in order to not get it taken down, they had some weird rotating wallpaper, so it didn't match some video algorithm, and then they pitched up the sound, so it was like everyone was like talking with helium to avoid some sort of algorithm. But then there was just some dude from Mexico who put up one. It was like the American version but with Spanish subtitles, and that was the only. So I watched that one.
Oh, okay.
And the reason or do you have? I have the reason, or at least I've found a article that explained the reason. Unless you have more information on it.
I mean, essentially, the Weinsteins own it, and they're in such has something to do with their current legal trouble.
Yeah.
And they just want to hang on to everything they can in case they have to sell it later for as much money as possible. So they're trying to create a starvation in the market.
Yeah.
And also because Kevin Smith told them to go fuck themselves after it came out about Harvey, and they're just trying to hurt him too, I imagine. I don't know if that's true. But what did you have?
Yeah, it was just because the Catholic League at the time, they boycotted this movie, and Disney kind of caved into that pressure. And Miramax, they were at Miramax at this time. That's a Disney-owned company.
Yeah.
So in order to kind of get around that, the Weinsteins personally bought the movie from Miramax.
Okay.
And then they sold off distribution rights in America to Sony, and then international rights to someone else.
Okay.
And because around that time, because the contracts at that time, because streaming video wasn't really a thing at that time other than piracy, that stuff is not in the contracts.
Oh, okay.
So nothing was ever set up to have this be on a streaming service.
Oh.
And so then also you have the thing with their legal troubles, and they personally own it, and yeah, so that too is a complication why it's not streaming anywhere.
Yeah, I just bought it I have the special edition, which I only bought, and I probably bought it like a year after the movie was released, because that was the golden age of DVD, and it's got like a bunch of funny Kevin Smith commentary tracks on it.
Yeah.
But you can still buy this movie on DVD.
Yeah, you can buy it. It's
For
just
some reason, the special edition is $90 now, but so I think that's again market scarcity.
yeah. Well, that was also back in the day where you created multiple editions of a movie just to drum up some business, and and because one is more expensive, they made limited. It was a limited production run, and then because of scarcity, it ends up becoming more expensive over time.
Yeah.
Kind of like that Fight Club DVD I have, where it's like 4 discs, and then they made a slimmed down 1 disc version of it that like basically had like half of the extras.
Yeah.
And they did that just so they could sell it for like $10 rather than like the $30 normal edition. And because that did really well on DVD, like they made even more money, even though it was a inferior DVD. So there was a lot of shit like that happened. Kind of like that in the Armageddon DVD, because that released as a Criterion Collection, but as like a mainstream Criterion Collection. Like if you bought Armageddon when it first was released on DVD, you bought the Criterion Collection. But then they made another edition that's just the movie with none of the Criterion Collection editions.
Oh, okay.
Which, like, that's stupid, but whatever.
Yeah, it just seems like that.
They did the same thing with RoboCop, like, because that's even out of print because the rights got all weird. So now, but like the Criterion Collection RoboCop is the superior edition of RoboCop. And I would say essential.
Yes. But yeah, this movie had a lot of controversy around it
Yeah, well, yeah, at the time, but yeah.
at the time.
You know, as before, like everyone's like, "Hey, these priests are raping kids."
Yeah. it's
So then
kinda-
you could be like, "Oh, quit picking on the on the Catholics."
yeah, the Catholic League doesn't quite swing the heavy hammer it used to. It's like clean up your own house first.
Um,
I just watched some YouTube videos of the protests around this movie.
and the one where like Kevin Smith ends up protesting his own movie just as
Yes.
a goof.
That's a good one. Well, remember when he was protesting with the Westboro Baptist people against himself?
I can't remember.
Yeah, that's because he made friends with the one girl that's now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. But yeah, so there was a minor. How would you say that? There was a minor kerfuffle around this movie.
But yeah, just the plot of this movie is that God is infallible, and to prove God wrong will unmake existence. A couple of angels are cast out of heaven. They found a loophole to get back in, and then Linda Florentino is the last scion, the last lineage of Jesus Christ in some way, or of the family of Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
or Mary or whatever, some descendant.
Like her great aunt 1,000 times removed.
Yeah. And so she has to stop it, and God is incapacitated, and some bum who liked to play skee ball in New Jersey at the Jersey Bank or Jersey Shore. Yeah, so just a ridiculous premise, and you throw Giant Jay and Silent Bob in there for pretty much no reason except for that's what Kevin Smith's known for, so you got to put that in there.
Yeah, I did like how they were hanging out at the abortion clinic
To pick up loose women.
because they knew that the, like loose girls go to the abortion clinic. Even now, that's like I heard that I was like, oh, that's shocking. I don't even know who thinks of that, but that's pretty funny.
I love the story that Kevin Smith tells about Jason Mewes during this time, where he learned the script backwards and forward.
Oh, because he was intimidated by Alan Rickman.
Yeah, he's like, Alan Rickman's a serious actor, like Shakespeare and stuff. Like, you got to get your shit together or whatever. And so like he went to go do the table reads, and he didn't bring a script because he knew everyone's lines and his own like backwards and forward. And like, why did you do that? It's like, I didn't want to piss off that Rickman dude.
Die Hard. Yeah, that was funny.
But then also, fucking, he was high as fuck while doing this movie. So
Yeah. On this is his heroin days.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Matt Damon, like, because he's pretty much good in everything, but like, really, I think it's the first time he really showed off his comedic chops.
Yeah.
Like, he's really good in this movie. And Ben Affleck's there. He's really hamming it up. It's like, yeah, Ben Affleck's a smart guy and a good director, but he's never been the greatest actor. But whatever.
Yeah,
He's fine. He's fine. He's fine.
He's having fun with his friend. Well, friend then. I guess they're not friends anymore.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, he sold him his house, so what are you gonna do?
I don't know. I don't understand the drama.
I'm not. I think people want to like read into it as like, oh, they're not talking anymore publicly, so they must not be friends anymore. And it's more that like, because Kevin Smith will tell personal stories on his podcast, Ben Affleck will get in trouble, and it's like, it's not that we're not friends anymore. It's that if he tells me things, I'm going to tell them out loud to the entire world.
Yeah, he just know like it's better if I don't talk to you because you can't control yourself. So yeah, this was I mean, it was a fun movie. It was more immature than I remembered it, but I did like the performances of Alan Rickman and Jason Lee. I mean, really everyone's performance was good.
Yeah. Chris Rock was really good in it. And,
Yes.
Um, yeah, and like I laughed out loud at a bunch of scenes. Like, oh yeah, I haven't watched this movie in a while. This is very enjoyable. Um, and I like the scene where they go to the movie office, you know, and then like to like make them all feel bad for being terrible people, and they just murder. Yeah, because like on the way, like the Angels have to go to Jersey to this church. It's like on the way they say like, oh, let's go on a killing spree, which is like just a weird turn. Like it's a road trip killing spree movie with a couple of angels. I mean, they're technically only killing bad people, but you know, still probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd probably seem in poor taste now, but it was probably poor taste then too.
Yeah, I mean, this movie just reeks of poor taste. Not miscued stuff, but just stuff that's. We're just seeing how offensive we can be. But yeah, I did like some of the theology they worked into it. It's about they declared this arch is a thing that will forgive all your sins, and you know, if the angels cut off their wings and become humans, you know,
Transubstantiate into humans.
yeah, then they can become they can be forgiven and then undo the universe, which is like the last middle finger to God to prove God wrong.
And Azrael, he's kind of sparks the whole thing, because he's spent the last millennia in hell, and he'd rather not exist than spend another day in hell.
Yeah.
Which that's captivating. Like, yeah, I can see why.
Yes. Now the madman has motivation.
And you have the Golgotha, the shit demon, which was completely ridiculous.
Yeah, that can be stopped with air freshener.
But like, I like how it's, you know, it's like there's a theology behind it. It's like the Romans crucified everybody up there, rapists, thieves, all this. Like, and when they died, their bowels released, and like, because all these evil people, like, it was just evil shit, and gathered together, and it became together. The Golgotha, the shit demon, the hell's top assassin.
Yeah, it was a lot of weird shit, but it all kind of hung together in its own strange day.
Yeah. But yeah, it was yet another movie that came out in 1989 where it was like, oh, this is a pretty original movie, and it probably never made now, at least not on a
Right.
not on any large budget, and definitely not with a fucking cast. Everybody in that cast is making like $20 million a picture.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I guess just Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and I don't know, Salma Hayek still some of a draw.
Yeah, because Alan Rickman's dead.
Yeah.
Jason Lee, I haven't seen.
Well, he had that My Name Is Earl show, and then he kind of like just disappeared after that.
Yeah.
Now he's big into Scientology, so you know.
Oh, is that his thing now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. I guess, yeah, any boat or any port in a storm, I guess.
Yeah, probably one of Kevin Smith's better movies.
Yeah.
I'm sure we talked on air or offware, but I would say, like, I think Red State's probably Kevin Smith's best movie.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Even though it's like, well, Kevin Smith, he does comedies, and like that movie is basically kind of a low budget horror movie, but it's got great performances and some pretty clever ideas going on there, and just realistic danger horror movie.
Yeah.
Because now just Kevin Smith just makes weird movies based on podcast ramblings.
Yeah.
But apparently he's sold a new Jay and Silent Bob movie to a Saban, or no, I can't remember the name of it. Some other production company. So that'll probably never get made. But it's been announced that money has changed hands.
Yeah.
He'll write a script and it won't get made.
Yeah, this was definitely a movie of its time, though. I mean, yeah, because this came out, like I said, this is the same year Fight Club, The Matrix, all kinds of movies came out.
Yeah, that's why we're doing the feature.
Yeah.
Movies in '99. And every time we talk, have a new movie, it's like you have to go to your basement to get a DVD of it because that's how much of an impression this movie has that you bought it on DVD to have it. So
Yes, that's back when I used to watch movies a lot and care.
yeah. And also, like Kevin Smith, when he has an audio commentary, like he does great at audio commentary. So it usually makes his stuff a must buy. Like I remember that was what the fuck was it? It was Jersey Girl.
Yeah.
So that came out around the same time as Geely.
Yeah.
So people just automatically hate it. Like it's a perfectly fine film. It's more of like a kids movie. But like Kevin Smith isn't in it, and they like in the corner of the DVD they just like put a smiling face on it. It's like with Kevin Smith. It's like, yeah, he directed it. It's like, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
There's some other movie where like it's like I don't know Kevin Smith's in the movie, but he's on the audio commentary because he's done that before. But like they put his face on the cover because he did the audio commentary because Kevin Smith sells DVDs apparently.
Yeah.
And because the other one I remember is they did a re-release of what's that Patrick Swayze Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And he does the commentary for Roadhouse, him and Scott Mosier, and it's not like they knew anything about Roadhouse other than they liked the movie, so it's just them watching the movie and commenting about it,
saying weird stuff.
Basically, they take all the jokes that they make about what's that guy? Fucking the Walker Texas Ranger guy. I can't remember.
Yeah, the karate guy.
Yeah. I'll just look it up on
Yeah, go ahead and use the internet.
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris.
It's like all the jokes that they make about Chuck Norris, they just apply that to fuck no. What's it? John?
Patrick-
No, who's the producer or something Silver?
Oh,
I'll look that up too.
yeah, look that up. We didn't know the conversation was going this way, or we'd have had notes.
He produced Die Hard, and Joel Silver. That's it.
Okay.
So yeah, they just applied all those Chuck Norris quotes to Joel Silver. I remember the one I like laughed at the most because like I'd never heard it in either form, so it just seemed like, oh, this is original. It's like, oh no, they're just reading shit off the internet and claiming it as their own. It was the one that's at it's like, did you know Joel Silver went back in time and stopped all 3 bullets from assassinating JFK with just his beard, but then JFK's head exploded out of sheer amazement.
Yeah, Kevin Smith kind of launched his own, because I remember like those DVDs, like the Evening Withs. I don't know how many of those they did.
4?
I remember.
I know 3 went on DVD, and then like there's been maybe there's 5. He did like 2 more, but it's like that. I know the company's named Epix, EPIX. I don't know if that's like I don't know. It's a cable channel. Okay, yeah. So like he did 2 of them for them.
Okay.
So I think he has like 5 of them because there's an Evening With, and then there's an Evening With 2, Evening Harder, and then there's a 3rd one, and then I think there's those 2 he did for Epix. So there's like one he did for Epix, and there's that latest one where he had the heart attack afterwards.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I think he has like that's. I think there's 5.
The one I remember, the first evening with Kevin Smith was like, that's when he established this whole talk thing.
Yeah.
Going to talk about all his projects that never happened and all the weirdos of Hollywood and the stuff he ran into on, and that was a lot of question and answer stuff too.
Yeah.
With people from the audience, some of the stuff was real shitty, and he was like, "Well, hold on, okay, go ahead and say your thing, because get your laugh out of it, because that's all you're gonna get. This is it." He was the first guy to do stuff like that. Now everyone does that.
Yeah. I remember somebody was on some sort of like acquisition committee for a like student like programs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like I think I showed him that DVD and it's like, oh, this is great. Let's see if we can get Kevin Smith to come to our school and do a Q&A. But apparently his asking fee at the time was like $40,000 just for an appearance.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So it's like, yeah, damn, like
Crap.
that's a racket.
yeah. Should have got into that when everyone was hungry.
Oh, there's still like crazy collegiate money going around. It's like it was a small college they went to, so yeah, they of course they weren't going to get that. That would probably be a steal for a major college. Now it's like, fuck, let's get Kevin Smith in here. 40 grand. That's more than. It's like, what, to get Obama in here, it costs like $5 million.
Yeah. Yeah, and will there be like, will we have to get out the riot squad? if Kevin Smith comes to speak. It's non-controversial enough for that. But yeah, I remember those. That was kind of, you know, because after the first couple of those and some of these movies, it's like this guy's really going somewhere. You know, this guy seems smart, seems to know what his message is and what his voice is, and then of course that never really happened.
Well, I mean, he did the podcast that came pretty good. And that's kind of just the thing he does now, and being how he's dealt with, like how he's on all these DVDs as a selling point. It's just that like theatrically, he's terrible. Like his movies don't make money theatrically. People don't want to go see him because they make him uncomfortable or something like that. And like I said, like none of his movies has made like $100 million before, and that's like, you know, that's kind of seen as if you can't make $100 million, then like what are you even putting a movie in theaters for? That's just kind of how people look at it. I know it's a shitty way to look at it, but he must be making a lot of money on DVDs. Like his movies must sell like way more than they ever would in theater. Like he's probably like his movies probably do millions of units on DVD, which is crazy. It's like, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely carved a niche out for himself.
Yeah. He's making money somehow, so.
Which that's good.
He bought Ben Affleck's house. He's got a pool on his roof.
Yeah, that's always nice.
He's got that giant TV that like fucking like Sanyo sold him, and there's only like 4 of them in the world.
Oh, 100-inch TV. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
It's like, why don't you just get a projector? It's like, no, it's a television. Now he's all vegan and stuff to try to stay alive.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what he's doing now. I'm just
I don't regularly listen to his podcast like I used to. Just kind of tuned out at some point.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no reason to look to this guy as for advice.
Yeah, you change in life. Things that once held your fascination don't anymore. You know, people grow and get older and just let all their dreams die. No, it's not that bad. Oh. Well, hell, did we have anything else?
No,
All right. This week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
this is Conlon. Goodbye, America.